Hey friends, and happy Sunday. I've been so productive this morning. Everett and I woke up and we went on a 4-mile walk. Took us like an hour and 15 minutes, but it was great. And then I watched church, and then I made myself some lunch, and now I'm here to read chapter 2 of Junie B. First Grader Shipwrecked. So, yesterday, we read about how somebody splattered in the classroom, and then they were talking about germs, and then Junie B didn't understand germs, and she said that she wasn't going to breathe for the whole rest of the day. And today we're going to read chapter 2, and it's called Letting Go. Now, I don't know what this could be about. Maybe she needs to let go of trying not to breathe, because we know we have to breathe to live. So we'll have to read and find out. So let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 2, Letting Go. It is not easy to hold your nose and eat a sandwich. You cannot swallow good like that. Also, you can't actually breathe. The reason I know this is because room 1 kept on holding our noses while we ate lunch. My ears felt blocked when I chewed. I tapped on my friend Herbert. I am not enjoying my cheese sandwich today, I said. Me too, said Herb. I am not enjoying my sandwich too. Plus, I don't even know what I'm eating because I can't taste what's under my lettuce. I thought for a minute, and then I tapped on him again. Yeah, only what if you're eating something you hate, I said. Herb thought. Then he quick put down his sandwich and he lifted up the bread so both of us could see. We leaned our heads in real close. Lenny and Jose leaned their heads in too. Said Jose. This is only a guess, but I'm thinking tuna salad? Lenny shook his head. I'm thinking ham spread. Herb made a face. I'm thinking I'm done, he said. After that, he got out his apple and he tried to take a bite, only he couldn't actually get it in his mouth on account of he was still holding his nostrils. Finally, Herbert got frustration in him. I give up, he grouched. Then he let go of his nose and he breathed in a big sniff of air. Air, he said. It looked good to do that. I let go of my nostrils and breathed too. Air, I said. Next to me, May's whole mouth came open. She did a cuckoo sign at us. You two are crazy to do that, she said. Dirty, nasty germs are getting sucked right up your nose this very minute, I bet. I looked surprised at that news. Really, May? I said. Thank you for telling me that. Then I leaned over next to her and I breathed out my nose on her shoulder. There, all better, all gone, I said. May did a gasp. Ew, 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 she hollered real loud, and then she jumped right up and she tattled to Mr. Scary at the front of the table. Mr. Scary, Junie Jones breathed nose air on my shoulder. Now I've got germs on me, she yelled. Mr. Scary kept eating his lunch. He was pretending May was not there, I believe. May kept on tapping on his arm, and she wiped her shoulder. Nose air, nose air, nose air, she hollered in his ear. Finally, Mr. Scary stood up real calm, and he walked May back to her seat. Boys and girls, I know that many of you are still worried about what happened to Roger this morning, he said, and I promise that we'll talk more about this after recess, okay? But right now, I want all of you to release your nostrils and eat your lunch. He stood there and waited. One by one, all of us let go of our nostrils. Only not Sheldon. Instead, Sheldon ducked his head under the lunch table, and he said he was looking for his pickle. I peeked at him under there. He was hiding under his napkin, holding his nose. When the bell finally rang for recess, room 1 was the first class out there. Fresh air, fresh air, fresh air, we shouted very joyful. Then all of us breathed big snorts of air, because Roger couldn't have shot his germs all the way outside, probably. After that, we skipped and jumped and clapped and played, except for not Sheldon and not May. Sheldon sat down and held his nostrils some more. May went to the water fountain and washed her shoulder. Let's see. I think we'll go ahead and read chapter 3 too, since that was a short chapter. Chapter 3 is called virus, and that spells virus. We're very familiar with viruses because the coronavirus is a virus that we've all experienced. So, Chapter 3, virus. It is still Friday. Dear first grade journal, we just came in from recess. We are waiting for Mrs. Weller to talk to us about germs. May started holding her nose again. Also, Sheldon put another paper bag on his head. Today is an interesting day in room 1. From Junie B., first grader. Just then, there was a knock at our door, and Mrs. Weller came in. Mr. Scary went to meet her. Mrs. Weller, I'm very glad you could come back, he said. Room 1 is still worried about what happened to Roger this morning, and we need some advice on how to stay healthy. Mrs. Weller's eyes glanced over to Sheldon's bag head. Mr. Scary's eyes glanced there too. Some of us are a little more worried than others, he said kind of soft. Mrs. Weller went to the board and she printed some big letters. virus. Virus, she said. These letters spell the word virus, children. Have any of you ever heard the word virus before? Lucille jumped right up. I have, she said, really excited. My Nana grows viruses all the time, all over the place. You should see our house, nurse. Sometimes we have fresh viruses in every single room almost. For a second, Mrs. Weller's face went funny. Then all of a sudden, a light bulb came in her hand. Oh, I think you mean irises, Lucille, she said. Irises are very beautiful flowers, aren't they? But viruses are tiny little germs that can make people sick. Lucille started fluffing her hair, very embarrassed. And then she fluffed and fluffed and fluffed until she sat down again. Mrs. Weller kept on talking. Boys and girls, there's a stomach virus going around school, and I'm guessing that your classmate Roger has caught it now. 2. May nodded her head and pointed at herself. That's why I'm holding my nose, she said. See me, Mrs. Weller? I'm being smart by not breathing the germy air. Mrs. Weller looked puzzled. Yes, but you're still breathing, May, she explained. The air is simply going in your mouth instead of your nose. May looked shocked at that comment. Mrs. Weller smiled. I'm sorry, dear, but I'm afraid it just doesn't help to hold your nose, she said. In fact, one of the easiest ways to catch a virus is to touch your nose with germy hands. May didn't move a muscle. She just kept sitting there, looking very surprised. Finally, I leaned over and tapped on her. I think that means you nose squeezer, I said. Lenny and Herbert laughed real loud. They enjoy my humor. After that, Mrs. Weller printed 4 rules on the board about how to stay healthy. Number 1, do not share straws or glasses or forks or spoons. Number 2, do not share food or drinks. Number 3, keep your hands away from your mouth, eyes, and nose. Number 4, wash your hands often with soap and water. She put down the chalk and glanced over at Sheldon again. Oh, and I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you can't hide from germs either, she said. So for those of you wearing paper bags on your head, there are probably thousands of germs in there with you. For a second, Sheldon sat as still as a statue. Then all of a sudden, he shouted real loud, "Ah!" And he quick pulled off the bag. Then he zoomed straight to the sink and he washed his hands and his face with soap. Plus also he washed his arms and his legs with a paper towel. After that, he took off his shoes to wash his feet. But Mr. Scary said no. We're not doing a full body scrub, son, he said. Your face and hands are enough. Sheldon looked upset. But germs can get on other places too, he said. Like what if someone drools on your arm? Or what if someone burped on you? Or what if you fall on top of a sick person and he sneezes germs right directly up your nostrils? Mr. Scary rolled his eyes. Come on, Sheldon. Now you're just being silly. He said, I've been around a long time, and believe me, no one has ever sneezed germs directly up my nostrils. After that, he took Sheldon's hand, and he sat him down again. Pretty soon, Mrs. Weller had to go back to her office, but before she left, she took us to the sink, and she showed us the right way to wash our hands. Room 1 lined up and washed very perfect. Then we waved goodbye to Mrs. Weller. We were sad to see her go, because now we have to do schoolwork, probably. Only here's what we didn't even know. Mr. Scary had a happy announcement, and he'd been waiting to tell us about it all day. Boys and girls, I know we had a pretty rough morning, but I think I have some news that will cheer you up, he said. He smiled. In 2 weeks, our school is having an event called Parents' Night. Have any of you ever heard of Parents' Night before? Lenny quick raised his hand. I have, he said. My sister told me about it. He said Parents' Night is the night when parents come to school and they poke their nose in your business. Mr. Scary did a little frown. Yes, well, I don't think that's the best way to put it, Lenny. He said, your parents don't come to poke their noses in your business. Parents are interested in what we do here in school. So sometimes they like to come to the classroom and spy on us, said Jose. But in where they don't belong, said Shirley. Invade on our personal space, said Sheldon. Mr. Scary closed his eyes for a second. Then he walked back to his desk real slow, and he sat down in his chair, and he ran his fingers through his tired hair. Okay, I'll get right to the point, he said. This year for Parents' Night, I thought that it would be fun to do something special. So I was wondering how you would feel about putting on a play. My ears perked up at that word. A play? I said, kind of thrilled. A play? Said Herbert and Shirley. A play? Said May. Then all at once, room 1 started clapping and clapping. A play, a play, a play, we shouted. Yay, yay, a play. I sprang out of my chair. I know a lot about plays, Mr. Scary, I said. On account of last summer, I went to a real actual children's theater, and I saw a play about a mouse. And that thing was a hoot, I tell ya. And so maybe we can do a mouse play, too. Mr. Scary smiled. Yes, well, I'm sure a mouse play would be fun, Junie B. But since it's October, our play is going to be about Christopher Columbus. He said, we celebrate Christopher Columbus this month, remember? So Parents' Night will be perfect timing. I thought it over for a second, and then I shook my head no. Nope, sorry. I think a mouse play is still the way to go here, I said. Mr. Scary said, thank you for my opinion, but please sit down. I tapped my foot, kind of annoyed. Then I gazed my eyes around the room. Okay, who would rather do a mouse play? Please raise your hand, I said. Mr. Scary snapped his fingers at me. Snapping means the conversation is over, I believe. I sat down. So tomorrow we'll get to read chapter 4, and it is called Finding Facts. So that was kind of a good chapter to read because we have the coronavirus going around, and we hear all kinds of things like wash your hands all the time, make sure you don't touch your face, and one way to help us prevent from getting it is to stay at home, and that's what we've had to do. That's why we're not at school right now, so we don't spread germs to each other, and that way we don't get sick. So that kind of fit in nicely to what's going on in our real lives. So I hope that you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I know I am. I need to make my bed. Oh, goodness, Miss Stedman. And I need to go grocery shopping. So I hope that your Sunday is a little bit more exciting than my Sunday. But I'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.